Hey guys, it's a chilly day out at the range, but I wanted to take today to try to experiment with what happens when you shoot powder-coated bullets through the Silencerco Omega. Now I reached out to Silencerco and they suggested that you don't do this because they say that the lead buildup will be similar to shooting uncoated lead bullets through their suppressor, but I've got a mold to shoot a Lee 230 grain lead bullet with the 300 Blackout, so I wanted to see what happens with you powder coat it and go ahead and shoot it. So I've got about 200 rounds loaded up. I've got another 100 rounds of just full metal jacket loaded up. So let's go ahead and take a look at what my suppressor looks like right now with about 250 rounds through it, all metal jacketed ammo. This is what it looks like, no cleaning, nothing like that in the entire time that I've had it. And then we're going to go ahead and shoot some lead powder-coated bullets through it and see what it looks like after about 200 powder-coated bullets. Here we go. Alright, so that's 200 rounds of powder-coated lead ammo. Overall, it went really well. I did have a couple issues where the bolt basically rode over the next round. I think I had maybe 3 or 4 of those. Basically, once I cleared it, it then loaded and fired just fine. So I'm not sure if that's just a light load issue or what that is. Overall, I mean, the powder-coated bullets shoot just fine through the 300 Blackout. I would say one of the big things I noticed is the smoke in the face. There seemed to be a lot more smoke, and it seemed to be a thicker, almost more acrid, strong smell that just kind of lingered. That last round of fire is actually kind of burning my eyes a little bit, even with the sunglasses. It just seemed to kind of stick around my face and burn a little bit. So what we're going to do, once this can cools down a little bit, we're going to go ahead and take it apart. I'm going to show you some after video after this firing. I've tried to look a little bit at the built-in muzzle brake. You know, there's no obvious lead buildup that I can see, but I'm especially interested to see more in this blast baffle area if there's going to be any appreciable lead buildup. You know, I don't know personally if I'm going to shoot lead through the Omega a whole lot, even if it's powder coated. I definitely like that option because if I cast my own lead and powder coat it, my cost for shooting 300 Blackout is pennies per round compared to buying factory ammo or even loading cheaper Full Metal Jacket. But we'll see, depending on how much it actually affects the suppressor, maybe I'll stick to Full Metal Jacket. One thing, if you are interested in shooting more lead through the 300 Blackout, one of the things you can do is look at one of the pistol suppressors. A lot of the 9mm and 45 cans out there are rated for subsonic 300 Blackout. So if you do want to shoot subsonic lead ammo, that's something you can do, is look into a can that can be cleaned and that's designed for shooting lead. The lead itself doesn't necessarily hurt the suppressor. The problem is with something like the Omega is it's not designed to be taken apart and cleaned. So you basically get stuck with whatever buildup is in there. There's some methods like the dip, which I've never tried. There's ultrasonic cleaning, and you can always send your can back to the manufacturer, especially Silencerco, and they'll clean it, generally for a fee. But if you want to get that suppressor completely clean again, which under normal use I don't know that it'd be an issue, but could be if you want to shoot a lot of lead. Alright guys, so now you've seen 200 rounds powder coated lead fired through the suppressor. You know, I'm actually going to have to go back and look at it on the video, just like you guys can do, and see exactly what it looks like to my naked eye, having taken the suppressor apart quite a while ago while I was shooting some of my other guns, and but prior to the lead, I took that initial video, fired a few 6.8 rounds through it, only about 15, so those shouldn't affect the buildup too much. But seeing that, I kind of expected a little more buildup, but from what I can see, there doesn't appear to be a lot. I know the video's not great to see. It's hard to get a good video inside a suppressor like that. I actually, the thing that seemed to work the best was to use my cell phone, because it has a light right next to the camera, whereas my regular cameras or the GoPro, it's too dark. Even when you try to use a light or something like that, it's not very even. So I'm going to look at the video again when I get home before I give you kind of a final summary, but to me it doesn't look like a lot of buildup. I definitely didn't see any adverse effects. I didn't see any obvious chunks of lead. I didn't see any obvious pieces of the powder coat that were on the suppressor, in the suppressor. So I don't think it was coming apart in a way that would damage the suppressor. So again, this is just kind of educational. This is not telling you that you should or that it's a good idea, just something to show you in case you were curious. So now, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but I'm kind of losing my light. It's getting darker pretty quick. So I was going to shoot at least a mag or two of Full Metal Jacket, and then I was going to shoot some 223 through it and give you one final video of the insides just to see if maybe it breaks anything loose. Unfortunately, right now, I don't have a lot of light left to shoot at this range, so I've got one more mag full of FMJ 300 Blackout. It's just a subsonic 150 grain load that I load. So I'm going to go ahead and fire that to wrap this up. Once I do that, then I'll take it apart again. I'll show you the inside. I'll show you if anything got knocked clean, and then we'll go from there. Alright, let's see if that knocked anything loose. You know, I'd mentioned the smoke earlier with the powder coat. I don't know if you can tell, if you can see my breath or not, but it is pretty cold out. I did notice still some of that smoke, so some of that could just be the powder that I'm using, maybe mixed with the temperatures. So I do think the powder coat did have more smoke, and it was a little bit thicker than the Full Metal Jacket does. But that kind of gives you an idea. Hopefully you can see some of that. I don't know yet how that's going to come across on the video. Hopefully you can at least see some of that smoke to tell what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments below. I'm using Accurate Arm 1680. If you've got a powder that you think it burns a little cleaner, less smoke, less particulate, feel free to let me know below. Otherwise, let's go ahead and take this apart and take a look at what it looks like inside. So I was actually able to recover a couple of the bullets. So these are the powder coated bullets that I just fired. These were fired actually into a snowbank. Kind of mix of snow and ice, and then they went through, I don't know, about 1.5 feet of snow into some wood debris that was left over from the plywood backings. But as you can see, the nose and the tips actually held up pretty well, but it did remove almost all of the powder coat except for a little bit from the grooves from the actual inside lower portion that contacts the lands and the grooves in the rifling. There's a nice mark here where it engaged. So, you know, I can understand why Silencerco gave the warning they did as far as using it. Appears that the base is pretty much completely free now of any kind of powder coat. So I understand why they give the warning. It definitely, you know, depending on how thick the powder coat is, and I'm sure what kind of velocities you're using, but so far with these loads, even though they're subsonic loads, it definitely removed almost all of the powder coat from the thicker part of the bullet that actually engages the lands and the grooves. So just a nice little view of some of the bullets after they're fired. Unfortunately, I dug around for a while, and those are the only two I was able to recover, but at least it gives you a little bit of an idea.